before you go live.
Cargo lives up to its nickname, the Windy City. Winds of up to 90 miles an hour bring the less hardy to a standstill or use them like a Scotsman's curling stones.
Alley fight between Fitz and Combs. You both get to pick 3 all-time Sox and Cubs as part of your alley fight. My number 1 draft pick is Michael Barrett.
Michael Barrett, you're out of your mind.
Michael Barrett, do you see that right hook? Ask AJ Brzezinski if he wants to get hit with that right hook again.
You can ask AJ Brzezinski that.
I will.
That's such a podcast question.
Shut up. Go to Rizzo. It's in time. And the Chicago Cubs win the World Series.
Uribe has it. He throws. Out! A White Sox winner and a World Championship.
And what is going on, Windy City Sports Talk fans? It's your boy, Brandon Combs, along with my guy, Ryan Fitz, as I'm searching here for the button to show our ugly mugs. At any rate, what's going on, Fitzy?
Nothing much. If you had a stat, I wish we could pick up this stat for when an offense gains the lead in a baseball game, how often the pitching or the defense gives up the lead after the offense takes the lead. I think the Sox and Cubs would be near the bottom of the league in that stat.
Or the top of the league, depending on which way you flip it.
Yes, we want to flip it. Yeah, you're right. Probably
we could lead the lead in something.
Yes, in something, because these teams give up leads. Oh, yes. Sox up 3-2 after being down 2-0 most of the game. Joe Kelly comes in, hasn't given up a run in a month. Promptly gives up 3 to the Detroit Tigers. Sox lose 7-3.
Yep. And the Cubs can't seem to beat the lowly Reds.
Up 4-2 in the 5th.
Up 4-2. They were up at 4-1 after the 3rd inning. And the same thing. I mean, bullpen is the same reason why they end up losing and not being able to sweep the Mets. But that's a team I can't figure out either, because the Cubs, they seem to beat all the good teams, but they can't beat teams like the Reds. Mm-hmm. They can't beat teams like the Pirates. So you're going to watch a team coming up this, on Memorial Day and Tuesday and Wednesday, they're going to be playing the Tampa Bay Rays. And I fully expect that the Cubs take 2 out of 3 in this series, because that's what they do. I don't understand it. And that's what they're going to be, man.
By the Oakland A's.
Yeah.
Yeah. The worst team in the league by far.
Right.
Inconsistent teams are bad teams.
They are.
And we try to give excuses for them, and we try to say, oh, no, they played well against this team or that team. But they can't play well against this team, or they give up a lot of leads, or it's just the bullpen. That's all it is. Or it's just that Lance Lynn and Dylan Cease aren't good enough this season yet. Yeah. Or that Hendricks is hurt, and now he's back, and now they're going to be good. No, inconsistent teams are bad teams. And it's true. I have grips to that. We're almost at the 60-game point, which is usually my time to judge a team. And we have a far underachieving team on the south side, and we have an underachieving team on the north side too. I think we can safely say that through 51 games for them.
Yeah,
they might play better. They're not as bad as they're playing now.
They're also closer in their division race, in last place in their division, but only 4.5 games out in last place. So there is that. So there is a little glimmer of hope for Cubs fans this year. But we're going to get into that in a few minutes. I do want to touch on, it is Memorial Day. Tomorrow is Memorial Day. And I don't know about you, but for me, being a veteran, being a Marine, and having some friends, some brothers and some sisters that I've lost, it's definitely got a different meaning for me. What's Memorial Day mean for you?
I guess it's as simple as it's the best country in the world. If you think about it, just from all aspects of it, Do we get everything right? No. Do we bomb civilians sometimes? Yes. But truth and justice mean something. The rule of law means something. Yeah, I always draw meaning from this. I always think like I was texting you earlier, like I always watch a war movie or two.
Yeah.
Because I'm a nerd. And I love history too. So but yeah, I mean, I think it means something different to just about everybody. As long as it means something to you, I think that matters. I think there, and like I said, I think you can bring a lot of negativity into a day like today, but I don't like to do that. You know, it's definitely the best country in the world for a lot of different reasons. I just listed a couple.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that that I like to talk about on Memorial Day, right? Like I like to talk about all the good things. I don't like to focus on the negative. Look, there are things within this country that we can talk about every other day of the year. But on Memorial Day, it's one of those things that I post every year. You know, we don't know them all, but we certainly owe them all.
Yep.
And everybody, the one thing that people don't understand about military unless they were in the military is that we give up a lot, and those who have made the ultimate sacrifice and never made it home gave up way more. And it's something that just to take a minute to reflect on a weekend where you are given an extra day off of work, on a weekend where you are out drinking and celebrating at barbecues, which look, that's what we do. You know what I mean? It's your right to do so. But raise a glass, you know, take a moment to think about why you have this day off. And you know, I hear people say all the time, which bothers me. People always say, "Well, don't thank a military member on Memorial Day. You're not thanking the veteran. It's a day for all those. Veterans Day is for the veterans. Memorial Day is for all those who never came back." And you know, that's not true. Memorial Day is a day to remember those who did not come back, but also you have to remember that those that are still with us at one point may have served with those who didn't come back.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a day for us to reflect to, and that's, to me, that's what Memorial Day is. Like, you might have, like I said, an extra day off of work. You might have had a 4-day weekend or a 3-day weekend or whatever the case is. But there are families, there are sons, there are daughters, there are brothers, sisters, mothers, fathers who this weekend means so much more to. And it could be a very hard weekend for them. So it's just something to take into account when you guys are out there enjoying your hot dogs, burgers, steaks, chickens. I mean, we're going to be celebrating tomorrow. It's my wife's birthday as well. So we are going to have people over to the house, you know, so
I'll be there.
It is a day to celebrate. And that's what we want you to do. You know, we fight for everybody's rights, you know, to party.
and when you speak about guys who have come back, there's guys who physically have come back but never really did mentally. And you talk about friends. I've had a few friends that had a rough time when they came back. You know, we're different people for sure.
Yeah.
Left something over there. You know. And I also think when you say people who you know physically didn't come back too, like I always think about this. Like when you watch a movie like Saving Private Ryan, you got Tom Hanks in the movie. I think he's in his 40s when he does that movie. And most of the guys are in their 30s or 40s who are acting in that movie. And there's nobody were in their 30s or 40s storming the beaches of Normandy. At least not many were that weren't, you know, generals or colonels or whatever you want to call it. A lot of them were young, or in their 20s or even their teens. And just think of like all the people, especially in that movie. When I see that opening scene, it's my favorite war movie. When you see that opening scene, it's like, how many of those guys, why my mind goes here, how many of those guys were virgins?
Yeah.
Never even got to fuck back in 1945. They never even got to get into that ass. They never got in there, man. I mean, there's a lot of virgins. It wasn't like when we grew up. It wasn't like when kids grow up now, where you lose your virginity or like 15. No,
Yeah.
most people didn't lose their virginity until they got married, well into their 20s.
Right. I never thought of it like that until you just said it.
And that is Fitzgibberish.
Yeah.
They never got to fuck, man.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, and
It
some
is.
of them got drafted.
Right.
You say what you want. It's probably the most justified war ever. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go to that war every time. I mean, you did something really good if you were in World War II, no matter what. I don't care if you put a rivet on a fucking tank. That was evil you were fighting against, pure evil.
Right.
But you got drafted. You might not have wanted to be even over there.
Right.
And you never even got to fuck.
Yeah. And not only that, you didn't want to be over there, and then you got a bullet in the head before you even got off the boat.
I know.
Like that was yeah. It's though, and I think about that a lot, and I do a lot with the Wounded Warrior Project. I do a lot with the Till Valhalla Project. And one of the things with the Till Valhalla Project is 22, because 22 a day.
Wearing it Till Valhalla.
Yeah, 22 veterans a day commit suicide.
Ugh.
And that's 22 too many, and it's something that has been an ongoing problem for a long time with VA, local VAs, and how they handle things, and not really treating things. And that was the old days, right? I mean, I say it all the time. My uncle lives in a veterans home now, and he was a Marine, and he a lot of mental issues. But back then, the thing was, if you were a man, like you don't go and see a therapist. You don't talk about your feelings. You know what? Oh, you've got this going on with you. Here's some pills. And that's one of the things that they still do in the VA. They don't. I've got friends now that have severe PTSD, and they don't get any of the help that they need, and that's why we have 22 veterans a day committing suicide, and it's a tough road to go down, and hopefully at some point we could find an end for it. Hopefully at some point we've got veterans that are taken care of and getting the help that they need, and we're no longer just medicating. So that's the harsh reality, but hey, you know what? This is a sports talk show, so let's get to some sports talk, shall we?
Yep.
So your White Sox, we touched on it a little bit, are having a bad year. The Cubs are having a bad year. But I don't think either one of them are having as bad of a year as this high school team, Hornell, had yesterday. State championship.
On the line.
B1, Section V. I don't know where this is at. I don't know what state this is out of, but I saw this video and I was like, you know what? We have to play this. So watch this clip.
2-2, 2 on. Strike 3.
Look, the umpire.
And he's out. Hornell wins it.
He didn't tag him.
Oh, wait a minute. Hornell's got to pay attention.
Look at the one fielder. It's like, guys, what are we doing?
I'm not sure what's going on here. So is this the way it's going to end? Wow.
All right. So.
Oh, my God. Oh,
this is
God.
A high school state baseball championship. They strike the guy out. The catcher drops the third strike and goes to tag the runner.
Never
and
tagged.
Misses. The umpire even signals safe when the catcher looks at him. So I don't know what the catcher was thinking at the time, but that's got to be the worst way to ever lose in your life. The guy ends up with a walk-off home run strikeout. Like, how? I mean, that's how it's got to get scored, right? It's not an error. It's a walk-off. inside the park. Home run strikeout.
Well, I don't think you get the home run. You get a strikeout and you win
A
the
4-base error.
I guess that's as bad as it gets. That's kind of groupthink a little bit too, because the catcher does look at the sees the safe call, but sees everybody celebrating and just celebrates because he's like, oh well, I guess we won. Whatever.
Yeah, and the one fielder
with AJ Przinsky in the 2005 ALCS when Josh Paul drops. Well, they still don't know. They had a magnifying glass to the catcher's mitt, whether he dropped it or not. But whether he did or not, it was close enough to where you tagged the guy.
AJ.
Then he runs AJ. Yeah. And the ump goes like this. But the ump did later say, like, I just meant strike 3. That's all that meant. Like, I didn't say that, he could still run to first base.
Right.
And Josh Paul flips the ball in the middle of the field and they start walking off. Dion Viciedo, or no, it's not Dion Viciedo. What was the guy's name? Pablo Ozuna comes in, steals second. Joe Crity hits a double, game over. Yeah, but that wasn't as bad as that. I mean,
dude, that's brutal. And at some point, I'm sitting there and I'm watching that video clip and I'm thinking, like, how is there no like a dead ball call? Like, all right, yes, look, you get the strike and you get but it's a dead ball. Like, everybody is running on the field.
Yeah.
The manager is arguing with the umpire while the guy is still rounding the bases. I mean, kudos to the other team for not giving up and knowing what's going on.
On Hornell, who was like screaming.
Yeah, I would really have liked to have been in the Hornell locker room after that game to see how it was handled. I would have loved to see how the Hornell coach handled the kids afterwards. Because I think that would have told me a lot more about that guy. I just because that's the baseball nerd in me. Like, I want to know what happened after the game. That is the most brutal way you can lose. And let's talk about the rule though. The drop third strike. Should that be a thing? Should you drop third strike? You struck out. Shouldn't matter whether or not it doesn't matter on any other strike, whether or not the catcher catches the ball. It's still a strike.
I just think it has to be clean and they have to catch the ball. I mean, I just think it has to be clean.
They don't have to catch it on strike 1 or strike 2 for it to still count as a strike?
Someone has to catch a ball for there to be an out. I think that's probably the thought process behind it. It is a weird call. There's no call like it in sports. I mean, there's nothing like it.
No.
So it is weird, and it always causes confusion. People always forget about it somehow. Like their brains just turn, like in that game.
Yeah.
If you're preoccupied, you're going to forget about that call. I mean, that happened to Josh Paul and most of the team in 2005. I mean, yeah, you can argue whether he caught it, but it was so close. And it looks like he doesn't catch the ball. I mean, if you have to put your catcher's mitt down to the ground, you should be tagged. And guys always tag him, no matter what. Sometimes they catch the ball and they tag the guy.
Well, he did try to tag him. Like, he knew he dropped it because he tried to tag the guy. And I think he thought that he got him. And for whatever reason, when the umpire, like, signaled safe, he was like, oh, that means he's out. Like, I don't know what he was thinking.
Could he have? Did it look like? I guess you can play it again, but did it look like he tagged him? Possibly.
Let's watch it again. Let's do this.
I mean, because if he did really tag him, that's even worse.
All right. So,
and if you're the manager of that team, you got to be going nuts on the ump.
Yeah. I mean, all right, let's try to watch this again.
Strike 3.
No, he didn't tag him.
Oh, he doesn't look at the ump.
You hear somebody screaming, it's only 2 outs.
Oh, wait a minute. Hornell's got to pay attention. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Keep rounding the bases.
So is this the way it's going to end?
And then if you keep letting this play, watch that you'll see the umpires get together and then just say, you know what, never mind, you guys win.
Cal Mac's going to win it?
Now look, the referee, the umps get together here.
Nuts.
So they're going to send everyone back here. I'm not sure what they're doing.
That's what they should have done.
To talk about it.
Runners on first
Maybe
and
not.
second.
Oh, they're getting a victory.
They're just like, nope, you guys win.
Wow, this has got to be.
Yeah, it's a dead ball. I think I agree with that too. I mean, there's so much chaos, and there's people on the field. It's like, sorry, people ran on the field. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, and not only that, but then the umpire's not even looking at the play. The umpires are arguing with the manager. Did the runner touch every single base? You don't know. You didn't see it. Like, did he miss a base? Did he round? Did he what is going on? You've got to stop the play at some point, I think. And they didn't. I just think it was bad all the way around. It's bad on the catcher for not finishing the play. Yeah. It's bad on the umpire. I mean, he did signal safe, but you did not continue to watch the play. You just let everything transpire. You didn't try to hold people off from coming on the field. You didn't make any sense. You just stood there. And then while the coach is arguing with you, the runner is rounding the bases, and that's a bad job of umpiring because you're not watching the play.
No, you're just letting it happen.
Yeah.
Standing there
sorry, you're about to lose the championship on this crazy call. At some point, at any point,
he might have tagged him with the ball itself too. At the he might have grazed him.
Right. I don't know, but at some point you got to start to wonder, as a Cubs fan or as a Sox fan, are we ever going to have as bad of a season as this?
Well, the Sox have had a right fielder fall down with a ball hit right to him. They also have a shortstop who couldn't catch a slow grounder right to him, who cost them a game. So anything's possible at this point.
Yeah,
I don't know if either team would have anything to celebrate though. While guys are running around the bases, I don't think they'd have anything really to celebrate at this point.
Yeah, that's just a tough way to lose. Look, the Sox and Cubs have both found tough ways to lose this year, right? It's been really bad. The Sox, can you keep running Joe Kelly and Aaron Bummer out on the mound and expect this team to turn things around?
Been good. He went almost 11 innings without giving up a run, so he's been.
He
good.
Had to, because his ERA was 15 before that.
Yeah, but he got it down, and he's throwing strikes. He throws strikeout. He was bad yesterday. So Aaron Bummer, no, and you shouldn't have been throwing Ronaldo Lopez out as much as you did. He cost you 5 games, but there was 2 games where you did not have to bring him out, and then one game comes to mind was against the Tampa Bay Devil Rays, where he comes in and it's they're gonna lose. He pitches 10 pitches and he blows a 2-run lead, not even a 1-run lead, and gives up the entire game. There was no chance. They had no chance. He had no chance. He was not even competitive, throwing pitches right down the middle at 95 miles an hour when he throws 100. It was it just bad. Why would you? And then afterwards, Pedro Gaffol says, I put him back out there. Well, you're not putting him out there now, are you, Pedro?
Yeah.
I mean, he closed at least 3 games too many. So
does the bullpen get fixed with Liam Hendricks?
Somewhat. Every guy moves down a slot once he starts pitching, and it's a guy that throws a lot of strikes. You have to hit to beat him. You have to actually hit the ball to beat him. So he's not going to be throwing a bunch of walks. Aren't going to come around to usually to. I mean, he had 7 walks in 21 with the Sox. 7 walks. He pitched like 80 innings or something like that. Had 7 walks. So he doesn't throw. That's why he's so valuable, because he's not going to give it away. You're going to have to hit to beat him. And some teams have done that, yeah, traditionally. But he's a top 5 closer in the league every year. I mean, every year you can pen him in as the top one of the top closers in the league. And he's good.
They've got to get it to him, though, don't they?
What do you mean? They got to get it to him?
Yeah, I mean, like, you've got to get it to your closer.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they've got to be. I wish there was a stat. It would be a hard stat to do, but that'll show you how good your team is. How many times or how good your pitching is, how many times your offense takes the lead and you give it back up again. I mean, it's been crazy. It's every time. Yesterday's game, watching it with my dad, and he's blaming the manager. And Pedro's made some mistakes. Every manager has so far this season, but it's 50 games in. Like, what are you gonna do? You're gonna fire him? He hasn't done anything egregious. He hasn't walked a guy on a 1-2 count yet.
Yeah.
I mean, so you can't get rid of him. But my question is, are you keeping Rossi? If this continues, the losing continues this season. Let's say they're 20 games.
I think they do. And the reason why I think that they do is because that's their guy. Like, they wanted Rossi. And no matter how much, I think Jed came out and said, hey, this is on me. I put together this bullpen. I put together these players, and they're not performing. But at some point, like, some of these decisions that are continuously being made, like bringing Michael Fulmer in a 1 or 2 run game, has got to fall on David Ross, because you can't continue to bring guys in situations to allow them to fail, right? Like, that's been my thing. As so, even in regular day life, like me, I'm a project manager, right? So if I know I have a project and there's a certain skill set of like all the teams that I'm controlling, I'm not sending a painter in to do drywall. I'm not sending my drywall guy in to frame up a roof. Like, you've got to put your guys in situations to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
And Rossi does not do a good job of that. So for me personally, as much as I love David Ross, as much as he was a big part of 2016, as much as I think that eventually someday he will be a good manager, I think he needs to go sit alongside somebody for a little while. I think he needs to go learn how to be a manager, because when you are in a 1-run game and you bring Michael Fulmer in, you are puckering your butthole. Like, it's not Liam Hendricks, right? It's not. I'm trying to think of a Cubs pitcher that I would rely on, but I can't think of one right now. It's not that guy that will shut things down. So for me, I'm not bringing Rossi back, but I think that the Cubs will. I think even after this team is good in 2 years, Rossi will still be the manager, because he's Jed's guy. He's who Jed wanted.
You think they'll keep? You think they'll stay pat, and he's not just a transitional manager that transitions you, and once you're ready to win, you get another manager in there. And it just reminds me, like, that the Cubs and the White Sox are the kind of teams that hire a guy who's never coached before.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, at least,
or hire a manager who has coached before and he's 145 years old.
Yeah, he coached during the Vietnam era
to coach a bunch of 20-year-old Cubans and Dominicans.
One of the youngest teams in the league, youngest, most exciting team in the league. Let's bring in a 77-year-old. That makes sense. He'll connect with them.
Are the White Sox lose the first they win the first game, but then they lose the next 2 to Detroit. They need to salvage today to split the series with Detroit.
Yeah.
It'll be a winning road trip if they win today. Can you call it on May 28th? Can we call this a must-win game with Dylan Cease on the mound, having to split instead of losing 3 out of 4 to Detroit? Is this a must-win game for the White Sox today?
If you think that they're a good team, yes, it is. A lot of the games are. Yesterday's game would have been a great game to win because you got Jesse Schulten's pitching. And yes, I know you don't know him because nobody fucking knows who he is. He's probably a virgin. He's probably never fucked. He pitches like he never fucked. And he pitches pretty well. 4 2/3, gives up 2 runs. And the guy's, Lorenz, for the pretty good pitcher, but doesn't have a lot of talent. Pretty good pitcher though. Doesn't have one
in Detroit.
And he's pitching in Detroit, and he has a perfect game through 6 innings. It would have been nice to have won yesterday's game. Then you feel good taking 3 out of 4 with Dylan Cease coming today, but they didn't, and because they're a bad team. I mean, they're a really bad team. They're just not good at baseball. And I mean, there's no facet that they do really well.
Yeah.
I guess they hit for average. Okay, is the only thing you can say. They don't hit enough home runs. They're not as good at fielding team as they should be. I mean, going in, you think that they would have been an improved defensive team, and they're not.
Right.
They're not good in the bullpen. They got some good arms. They got some talent in there. But they're not a good bullpen, and they're starting pitching, even though it's improved these last, maybe 21 games. They're not very good either. I mean, they're not a top tier starting rotation as what I thought they would be in the beginning of the year. So yeah, I mean, it's a must-win game if you think they're a good team. I just don't think they're a good team. I just don't. I think they got some pieces that they can trade. I mean,
I don't think that either team on either side of town is a very good team. And I'm one that keeps saying, hey, look, Cubs are in last place, but they're only 4.5 out of the division. The White Sox have been playing really bad ball. They're only 6 out of the division. Does it matter if either one of these teams wins their division?
No, they don't even deserve these fucking divisions. They deserve to be in the AL East, these teams. I mean, you got 2 teams that are in these divisions in this town, the 3rd largest city in the country. And one's dead last, just, whatever. And the other one's 6 games out, like by luck, just by luck. They're 10 games under 500. By the way, when you're 10 games under 500 in baseball, I don't care what time of the season is. So Steve Stone can stop fucking saying that it's still early, because it doesn't fucking matter that it's early. It doesn't. When you're 10 games under 500, the math just doesn't work out. I don't care if you go 0-10 to start the season. The math stops working out for you. You're not going to have a 650 winning percentage to win this division or to do anything special this season. And like you said, if they win 84 games, and win the division, what does it matter? They're not going to be the 2006 Cardinals and win the World Series.
Or the 2019 Nationals.
Yeah, that's a damn good team.
That's why, for me, I don't think that it matters for the Cubs. I think that it does matter for the White Sox, because the White Sox are talented enough that if they are playing good ball, if they do turn this around and they do start performing to their abilities, they really can be the 2019 Nationals. There is enough talent there. I just don't know how it's been so bad and how they're going to correct it to be so good. The Nationals changed managers in the middle of the season. The Nationals, did things to make it so that they were a better team. I don't think the White Sox are prepared to do that. I don't think the White Sox are going to move on from Pedro Grifol. I don't think the White Sox are going to bring players in at the trade deadline.
There's no Soto.
Yeah.
Coming into play.
Luis Robert, I mean, Luis Robert's been playing really good ball. He's had a quietly good season because this team's been so bad. I mean, if this team was 10 games above 500, we'd be talking about whether or not Luis Robert is an MVP candidate. Will we not?
Yeah, we would.
So-
He's one of the best hitters in May right now, but he's out.
Right.
Yeah, he's out in yesterday's game.
Yeah.
With a tight hip.
Right.
Whatever.
Right. Exactly. And then you've got guys like Tim Anderson. Tim Anderson, since 2019, has the second most 3+ hits games in baseball. He has the second most 4+ hit games in baseball. You've got guys that've got talent. You've got Jake Berger, who, if he starts turning it on and can actually, bring his average up to 270 while he's hitting all these bombs, that would be great. And then, you've got, Eloy Jimenez coming back. You've got Liam Hendricks coming back. There is talent there for the White Sox, right? And I think the White Sox, more than the Cubs, it does matter if they win the division, because and it's a big if, I know it's a big if they can be playing good ball, if they can be healthy and win this division come October, they could be a team that could give teams trouble in the playoffs. They could be a team that you could see upsetting the Tampa Bay Rays or the Boston Red Sox or the New York Yankees or whatever team is coming out of the AL East, which, by the way, is the only division in baseball that every single team is above 500. Right. And you've got to look at teams like the Boston Red Sox, who are in last place at above 500, and look at where they would be if they were in the Central.
They'd be tied for the division lead.
Right. So it's one of those where I do believe that the White Sox have enough talent to make a splash with all of the ifs. But all of those ifs are like, that's why we here in Chicago, we don't think it's going to happen. Like, I don't think it's going to happen. You don't think it's going to happen.
No.
Because we haven't seen that talent come out. We haven't seen anybody be able to pull it out of these guys. Nobody's been able to pull it out. I thought for sure this was a Tony La Russa problem for the last 2+ years. I thought for sure that's what it was. And now I'm not so sure. Like, is the Tony La Russa mentality still with these guys? Don't run hard, don't play hard.
Well, they get hurt. There's not a guy who can play more than 80 games, and that's good if you're playing basketball or if you're playing baseball. We play 162 games. Like, you got guys who are sore all the time. Like Pedro Gafal's talking about Eloy Jimenez. Well, he was a little sore anyway, so now with the appendectomy, he's gotten to be healthy again. The guy's played like 20 games. John checks in.
John, as long as they're not the 2016 Cubs. They won the World Series, John. So you don't want the White Sox to be the 2016 Cubs, so you're not rooting for them to win the World Series? Dumbest take ever. As long as they're not the 1927 Yankees, I don't care.
Maybe he's talking about cock bumps. Maybe he doesn't want any of the cock bump.
John is a cock bump.
God.
He wakes up every morning, looks in the mirror, and is like, wow, I'm a cock bump.
He's going to kill you. You're going to get murdered.
He lives like 2 blocks away, so it might happen.
Yes. He doesn't have to go far either. Yeah, I mean, it's just like you shouldn't have 2 teams in the city that can't even be first place in the 2 worst divisions in the league.
Right.
You can't. I mean, you can't give up that many leads. You can't be this inconsistent as a team, and to have this much money going into 2 teams. I mean, you got the Rays leading the East.
It's frustrating.
A third of your payroll.
Yeah. It's extremely frustrating watching what's going on in baseball in this city, because we deserve more. Really?
I mean, at least one team to do good at all times. That's not a lot to ask for.
No. And not only is it not a lot to ask for, but it's almost like it should be a given.
Yeah, there's no salary cap in this league. Or, you spend money, you can have a decent team at least, you would think.
You just got to be willing to pay the luxury tax.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not stopping the San Diego Padres, who are in a small market. It hasn't stopped the Los Angeles Dodgers from spending money. It hasn't stopped the New York Yankees from spending money. It hasn't stopped the Boston Red Sox from spending money. Why is it stopping the Chicago teams from spending money? It's absolutely insane to me that we've got two teams in this city that refuse to spend money. We've got the Cubs are the fourth richest team in Major League Baseball, and they have the 15th or 16th highest payroll.
The losses were biblical, Combs.
Stop it.
The losses were biblical. The owner of the Chicago Cubs said that after he got an evaluation of his team during COVID. Well, a lot of people had problems during COVID. He says it during COVID when the evaluation of his team was almost 4 times quadrupled.
While thousands of people were dying a day.
Yes.
The losses were biblical.
People were losing their businesses. Yeah. And you could say that for whatever reason. I mean, bad laws, but.
And the Cubs only made a little over $1 billion that year.
Yeah.
Because they didn't make $3 billion. They made just over $1 billion that year. And then you got the White Sox owner whose motto is just finish second.
Yes. Just
finish second.
Because there'll be always something for them to root for. And he runs his team that way. Like I said on Fitzgibberish a couple weeks ago, basketball team was 40-42. His baseball team was 81-81. And I think that's the way he wants it.
Yeah. You don't think he's all right with the way they are right now? Because we're sitting here, we're talking about like, hey, look, this team does have enough talent. I just said it. This team's got enough talent that if they can just get hot at the right time, they can make it some noise in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about. And they're 6 games out. They're just ahead of the Kansas City Royals. Like, I don't know. It just boggles my mind that's what it is. I mean, and look, the stands at Wrigley, I mean, they're packed. They're packed.
Yeah, you get rewarded.
Yeah.
Ricketts get rewarded. Why would they want to pay more than be the 15th, most spending team?
And it's because Cubs fans are excited. We're excited to go out to the field to see Chris Morel, as hot as he's been over the since he got called up, right? Like, and I didn't think that it would translate this way. I still want to see him do it over a couple more weeks span. Yeah. But we're excited to see guys like Matt Mervis. We're excited to see, that stuff. And then we got Cubs fans out there that are like, well, and I said it too on this show. I said, why are we watching these outfielders? Why am I watching guys, like Trey Mancini play right field instead of Brennan Davis or PCA or Alcantara?
Because he had cancer.
That's you, not me. But anyway, you've got these guys, and I start diving into it. I'm like, well, all right, let's see how these guys are doing in AAA and AA. Pete Crow Armstrong's hitting 234 with 3 home runs. Brennan Davis is hitting 241 with 4 home runs.
Crackling.
Alcantara is hitting 230 with 3 home runs. This is why we're not seeing them up at Wrigley, guys. This is why they are not being called up. This is why we are still watching Trey Mancini. This is why we are still watching players that we know aren't going to be here next year. This is why we're watching them play. This is why we are continuously watching David Ross trot out our Asian sensation, Seiya Suzuki, out there, batting a crisp 220.
Kosuke? Fukudome?
No, Seiya Suzuki. Same thing, though. I mean, they could be the same guy. This is why we are watching it, because there is nobody coming to help. There is nobody. they're not going to come up and save the day. If we're going to see Pico Armstrong this year, if we're going to see Brennan Davis this year, if we're going to see Alcantara this year, not the other Alcantara, not the one who committed a murder over the weekend, not that guy, the other Alcantara, Kevin Alcantara, who we are watching. Have you heard about that?
Yeah.
Didn't I send that to you? Yeah.
Yeah, you sent that to me.
18-year-old prospect, last name is Alcantara. He shot some guy in the face.
White Sox and Cubs scouting, they innovate. They innovate. Neither of these teams are innovative. Like I say it a lot. I mean, there's no thought leaders on either side of town.
But that's what, if we're going to see these guys at Wrigley, it's going to be because they just want to see how they transform into your brother. Bring back the Dunstometer. It wasn't the Dunstometer. It was a Shawnometer. Get it right. But you're going to see these guys come up, and it's going to be because we're not trying to win, and that's fine. I mean, like I said, the Cubs aren't, even if they won their division, they would get blown apart by teams like the Braves, the Phillies, the Dodgers, the Padres. They would just get blown apart. I mean, their pitching is nowhere near good unless the Cubs go out at the trade deadline, get 4 new starters, and get 4 new relief pitchers. They're not coming back. That's because Cubs fans show up no matter what, says David Lauren. If you're making money and didn't have to invest, why would you? To make the fans happy? The owners don't care. It's a business. I 110% completely agree.
I mean, if you're whining about your losses during COVID, when you're fucking filthy rich, you're whining about your losses. That's how you see the team as a business.
Yeah.
And they'll still trot out there that, oh no, we're losing money on the team. The Sox will say that with their sweetheart fucking stadium deal, sucking money from Illinois taxpayers. It's like, it's aggravating, and it makes you root for the teams to just utterly I mean, this is a collapse by the White Sox. It's a collapse at this point. And you almost want them to collapse because maybe you do get new ownership, or at least get a new GM in there, because the president and the GM of this organization are not doing the fans, ownership, anybody any favors. They're just not.
The attendance right now so far, the Cubs are in the top 10 in attendance this year. They are ahead of teams like the Angels, the Mets, Boston, who's got a winning record. They're ahead of Milwaukee, Texas, San Francisco, Seattle, Colorado, Minnesota, Washington. They're ahead of all these teams, right? The White Sox are 23rd. They are only ahead of Cincinnati, Detroit, Tampa Bay, Pittsburgh, Kansas City, Miami, and Oakland. All pretty bad teams. Yeah. Actually, Detroit's ahead of the White Sox. Like, I don't know if they're really a bad team, but it's White Sox fans are that fan base. If you're not giving them a winner, they're not showing up to your ballpark. But it doesn't stop Jerry Reinsdorf. Reinsdorf don't care. It's a cash cow.
Yep.
Anything he makes coming out of his stadiums is just cherry on top of the cake.
Yep.
It's just what it is. And that's what ownership for the Cubs has been for years. I mean, when they were the Wrigley ownership was the worst ownership of all time.
Tribune, company.
They did not. Yeah, sorry, Tribune. I said Wrigley. They did not. It doesn't matter. They did not spend a dime on the baseball team ever. It was for years and years and years. Nobody ever really cared. Nobody paid attention. They were the lovable losers.
Yep.
That was our moniker. The lovable losers.
They started spending money when they were about to sell the team. So they gave them a bunch of bad contracts to the Ricketts.
Right. And that's exactly what they did. And look, Ricketts came along into his, I guess for give him some kudos. Mm-hmm. He went out and he got the right GM. He went out and he got a guy who wanted to win. He went out and he spent money, and he gave him an open checkbook to go out and get guys like Joe Madden, to go out and get, the crazy, insane contract of Jason Hayward. Like he gave him money to go spend, to go get John Lester, to go get these guys that made the 2016 Cubs what they were, and that was just a team of pure destiny. That's all you can.
I mean, it's not like they didn't pay Jake Arrieta. They gave him money.
Yeah.
I mean, even though he wasn't great with Baltimore, everybody knew he had the talent. They gave him money too.
Yeah,
he basically won the 2016 World Series for you.
Right,
got you to the playoffs in 2015 too. His Cy Young year. I mean, was unhittable almost.
And look, Jed is trying. I legitimately believe Jed is trying because of some of the moves that he's made. I mean, people talk all the time, well, yeah, but he broke up the team and he traded off the 3 big pieces. Well, if you look at those 3 big pieces in the 2.5 years now since they've been gone, I think that the one that's doing the best right now is Chris Bryant, and that's only because of his averages in the 270s since he's been gone. But they've only got like a combined 40 home runs since they've been gone. Like they've not played well since they've been gone. I mean, you give Rizzo a little bit of credit because he's in that Yankee lineup, but I mean, he's getting carried by guys like Aaron Judge.
Mm-hmm.
He looks a lot better because he's hitting ahead of Aaron Judge.
Yep.
So
Baez has been good for last couple weeks, but
before that he got benched. He got benched before he got better, right? Like, because he was so bad, his head just wasn't in the game. He's not the same Javi Baez because he's in Detroit. He thrives off of big moments. He thrives off of large crowds and them screaming at him and booing at him and cheering for him and doing all those things. He thrives off of being the bad guy in the situation. And you can't be that in Detroit when there's 4 people watching you every day. Like, it's just not. It's not what you think that.
Not a good player, though. If you need that, you're not a good player. If you need, huge crowds and big moments, I could see that maybe bothering you a little bit. But if you're a great player, none of that shit should bother you. If you're an okay player, it does.
Do you know what the White Sox average attendance is? What would you guess? What would be your guess as a White Sox average attendance?
I hope you care about Michelle as much as you.
No. I'm gonna go. I've got a point to this.
You're a lucky woman.
I've got a point to this.
Yeah.
What would you guess?
18,000. I know they had a few 30,000 crowds.
You're really close. 18,322.
A lot of people don't go to games in April, especially on the South Side. But
it's because White Sox fans want to see a winner.
Yeah, well, that's true.
While the Cubs are averaging 32,000 per game, to watch a team that is 7 games under 500, averaging 32,000 in a stadium that holds just over 40 or just under 40, I can't remember. They are showing up to watch this team. And look, there are some exciting parts of this team, like Nico Horner, Dansby Swanson. There are some guys that Ian Happ, you want to go out and you want to watch play ball. But the White Sox have that too. The White Sox have that team too. They just, the fans want to see a winning product.
Mm-hmm.
Do you know who the Oakland A's, you know what their average attendance is?
God, 8,000.
8,889.
I got a feel for this. Wow.
In a stadium that holds just over 50,000. You're going to we could go to a game in Oakland. You could sit in right field, I could sit in left field, and we could hold a conversation.
You could see
there is nobody at the stadiums.
There's not even an owner of that team. You could sit in the fucking owner's box. Dave does bring up a good point about difference in neighborhoods. I mean, that was not a good idea if you're building a new stadium on the South Side to keep it where it was. Basically, just move it across the street. Richardson is a fun area, man. I mean, that goes without saying. And inside, too. Like I said, it's packed. That people want to go to popular things in America. But I think another thing here is, I think if you took the average income of a Sox fan and a Cubs fan, you're going to be looking at two different incomes. I mean, I would guess that it's way lower for Sox fans. And I mean, are you going to waste your money on a ticket if your team isn't good and you don't really have the money anyway?
Yeah, and I mean, the Sox do try to.
Their
They've got
marketing is great.
the Sunday family days.
Family day.
You've got all sorts of different events for White Sox fans. You don't get that for Cubs fans. They just come to the ballpark.
Yeah.
Like there's no family 4-pack. There's no buy 4 hot dogs, get 4 tickets, or get
half our pissers are closed. What was it?
Yeah,
for like the first half of that one season, people couldn't go.
And it's all troughs. It's all pissing troughs. Stand next to each other, wieners dangling, fucking cross streams, whatever you got to do. Just go ahead and take a leak. That's what we do at Wrigley. It's the neighborhoods are vastly different between Wrigley and Comiskey. My daughter and her friends wanted to go to a Sox game a couple weeks ago, and some of her friends were taking the train to go to the Sox game, and I told my daughter absolutely not. I said, if anything, I'll drop you off and pick you up. You're not taking the train. But if they were all taking the train to Wrigley, I probably would have let her go.
Yeah, I mean, if you pretty much, you could take the train from the city to Sox Park. I mean, that's even iffy. But from taking a red line to Sox Park, no.
Yeah, I drive past it on the highway, and you see the cops up there with the dogs on the platform, just standing there, just waiting. Because that's the neighborhood that it's in.
I'm a grown man, been living in pretty much living in the neighborhood my whole life, and I wouldn't take the red line.
You've said it before, if an owner buys the Sox, they've got to move out of the south side of the city.
I don't want them to. That's not something I'd be rooting for, but how? Just look at from an outsider in. I mean, this is a question I've been asking a lot of people, and maybe when I do the guy on the street, I'll ask Sox fans. It's a good question. I mean, if you're an outsider, I mean, I've been asking a lot of outsiders that have no affiliation with Chicago at all. Would you sell the Sox? If you bought the Sox, would you keep it on the south side? No one says yes. No one says I'll keep them on the south side. Why would you?
I would try to find a way to go in with the Bears to get in over in Arlington. I would. Let's build 2 stadiums here. Let's build a business district, and let's make some money, because the Bears are going to make money hand over fist. Whichever owner is with them when they go to Arlington, whether or not Virginia McCaskey is still alive, I do. Virginia McCaskey doesn't have much time left. So I don't know if I didn't say
You're basically threatening her life.
I know, but she's still alive, but look, she's 100 years old. I mean, realistically, do you believe she'll be alive when they move to Arlington in 5 years? They say they're 5 years away from having a stadium in Arlington.
No, I don't.
Yeah, I mean, she'd be 105. So even if she is still alive, I don't believe she'll be the owner of the Bears. And I don't believe that the kids want to run this team when they head to Arlington. I believe they want to make a fortune. The Washington, not Redskins anymore, just sold for, what was it, a little over $7 billion?
Wow.
The Bears franchise is going to sell for a little bit over 9, is the projected sale for the Bears, especially with the new stadium coming in Arlington. I don't believe that the McCaskies will own the Bears when they move to Arlington. I believe there will be a new ownership group. So if I'm buying the Sox, I'm trying to get in on that. I'm not saying shared stadium. I'm saying stadium down the street from another stadium.
Yeah.
With the entertainment district.
They're not the south side anymore then.
No, but you can still be the Chicago White Sox. There are plenty of teams we talked about before. There are plenty of teams that don't play in the city in which they represent.
No.
I don't believe that they're not going to be the Chicago Bears when they move to Arlington.
No, they'll still be in. And you get off at O'Hare and go right to the stadium. That's one of the reasons why they're out there.
Yeah.
Because teams have to drive.
You got Rivers Casino out that way already. Rumor has it is that you're going to have PointsBet Sportsbook is trying to get in with the stadium, and trying to set something up. So I do believe that you could do this if you're going to buy the Chicago White Sox. I do believe you could move out of the south side of the city. I do believe you could be in a better. And look, with the politics going on in the city right now, I don't know that players are going to want to walk around the south side of the city for very much longer in the next couple of years.
Or the Bears move to Arlington Heights. And the NFL expands, and there's a Southside football team and baseball team. Bringing the Southside Cardinals back. The NFL.
I will instantly hate them if they name a team the Cardinals in Chicago. Instantly hate them.
I don't care what they're named. I'll jump off the Bears bandwagon so fast I'll twist an ankle.
Wow.
Fuck the Bears organization too. I mean, they've done a lot of good moves, but fuck them too. I mean, there is not, we've said it before, there's not one good organization in the city.
Aren't they our biggest hope for a dynasty right now, though?
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the worst team in the league, in their league, is our best hope.
Do you believe they were the worst team in the league last year? Or do you believe that they tanked to be the worst team in the league?
Well, I think they tanked, but they're still, bottom 10, 15% of the league last year.
I believe they were a 7-win team. Last year.
They even beat the Texans. I don't think they were worse than the Texans. No. Who else was near the bottom?
Yeah, the Texans. You had were they better than the Jets last year? You think? I mean, the Jets were like a 7-win team last year. I think they were better than the Jets last year.
They definitely had a better quarterback.
Well, yeah. I think they have a better quarterback this year too.
People going, Zach Wilson, you just wait. What? They got a new quarterback for the Jets. Do the Jets win 10 games this year with Aaron Rodgers?
No.
No. Wow. You don't want to wait and think about it a little bit?
8-9 or 9-8. That's an 8-9 team, maybe 9-8.
He gives them one game.
Yeah, maybe 2. He doesn't want to play football anymore, and I think he went to the Jets to stick it to the Packers, but he's going to stick it to the Packers by leaving, not by going out and doing anything crazy with the Jets. They're still the Jets.
Well, he had that year. He also had the end of 2 bad years when he won back-to-back MVPs and then just sucked in the playoffs. And then
that's his whole career.
Or retiring, so he doesn't have to answer questions about how he just sucked.
That's his whole career. David Lawrence says, I'm glad. See, I'm the opposite, David. I am not glad Aaron Rodgers is out of our division. I wish Aaron Rodgers was still here because I would have loved nothing more than for Justin Fields and the Chicago Bears this season to beat the Packers twice with Aaron Rodgers as their quarterback. To me, that would have been the best thing. But look, I don't think that they're there. Look, I do believe that the Bears are the Chicago's best chance at a team that can be a dynasty. I believe Justin Fields is the guy. I believe we got the right GM. I believe we're starting to get the right pieces in place. And I do believe that this team is going to be a good team for a very long time if they can re-sign and extend Justin Fields. But Justin Fields says he doesn't care about that. Do you believe him? He doesn't care about contracts. He cares about wins.
Yeah. No. Well, I don't know. He seems genuine when he starts talking that kind of sports talk. It seemed genuine last season when they turned it around. You can say it directly from his comment when he said, I'm sick of being close. I'm sick of being close. And we're close. I want to get there already. I'm sick and tired of being close. And their offense did turn it around from that point on. So I think there's some honesty there, but
would you continue to be the best salesperson at your company? I'm not saying you are, but I'm just saying if you were the best salesperson at your company, but they never gave you a raise, would you continue to be the best salesperson at your company, or would you go find a job elsewhere?
Yeah, I'd go find a job. I've done it. I have gone and found a job elsewhere. I might not have been the best salesperson there, but I definitely deserved more, and I left. So I have
done it too.
Yeah, I mean, and yeah,
your whole goal is to make money. Yeah. That's why we all do. That's why we all go to work. Let's not fool yourself. There's not one person, not even guys who work in the sports industry, not even guys who, like I keep saying, would be my dream to be on the radio, to be on TV, to be calling games, to be doing all this stuff and making money doing it. I wouldn't do it my entire life for nothing.
Yeah,
we all go to work to make money.
Maybe he means it in a different way. Like there is guys who there's guys on the Sox right now who signed contracts earlier in their careers and then suddenly can't play baseball anymore because they. Do
you call his bluff?
Maybe that's what he means. Maybe that's what he means. Like, look, when I do get the big contract, I'm still gonna care about fucking winning. Like that.
Do you try to call his bluff at this point? If you're ownership, do you say, all right, you know what, we're gonna extend you right now. We're going to give you another 5 years for $70 million, and see what he like. You know what I mean? And you put it out there. Hey, look, we just offered him 5 years at $70 million. Says he doesn't care about contracts, only cares about wins. If we're only paying you $70 million, we can go out and get you all the pieces you need, buddy.
I think you're taking his comment the wrong way. I think his comment means once I get paid, I'm still going to be motivated. The contract won't matter to me if I'm a multi because if he's who I think he's going to be, he's going to get a lot of money.
He's going to be the highest paid quarterback in 2 years.
Look at what Hurts got. I mean, that's what that's what he deserves. I think if he's going to be that guy.
If they come out and win the division this year and win a playoff game, maybe not even win a playoff game, but at least get to the playoffs this year. They extend him at the end of the season.
Yeah,
and he's probably the highest paid quarterback in the NFL.
Yeah, if he's the reason why you're in the playoffs, yes.
Do you give him that contract? Do you make him? Are you giving him more than you're giving Patrick Mahomes or Jalen Hurts?
I don't want to. I honestly don't want to because it hurts the teams, doesn't it?
It does. It does. It does, but you can, and like David Lauren puts it right here too. This is what I was just gonna say. You can make a contract. Look, you can guarantee dollars, but you can make it very, very contingent on performance.
Isn't like even Aaron Rodgers? Not his contract. The trade was contingent. He's still got the Packers contract, but his trade is contingent. If he doesn't play over 60% of the snaps, the Packers only get a second round pick next year.
If you guarantee him, hey, we're going to guarantee you $70 million. Win the division, that's another $20 million. Go to the Super Bowl, that's another $50 million. Win the Super Bowl, there's another $100 million to your contract. Like those are the things that you can do to make it a guarantee. Like make it not just guaranteed dollars. You're still going to get guaranteed. Look, $70 million is more money than you'll ever spend in your entire fucking life.
Yeah.
So let's not scoff at $70 million guaranteed, and then everything else is contingent on your performance. You can do that. I don't think that his agent will allow him to do that. No. I don't think that that's the contract he's going to get. I think he's going to get somewhere in the ballpark of God, I'd hate to say it, but I think he's going to get somewhere in the ballpark of like 5 to 7 years for over $400 million. I really do.
Money, almost $500 million.
Because that is the type of player I believe Justin Fields is. That is the type of player I think the Bears drafted. I think that now that we've got, and I'm hearing talk all over Chicago sports radio, like they are afraid to talk about the potential of the Bears being good. Like I hear everybody talking about, oh, they're a 7 to 8 win team, or they're a 9 win. This is a double-digit win team right now.
If they're a 7-win team, something bad happened.
Yeah, if they're exactly, if they're a 7-win team, Justin Fields got hurt, or they lost 2 of their 3 wide receivers to injury, or something catastrophic happens to this team. But healthy, this is an 11-win team, especially with the schedule that they're playing. They're playing a last place schedule.
It would have to be. They would have to be at least a 10-win team. Or I mean, even if it's a 9-win team, if you're a 7-win team, I mean that. I'm sorry, something went really wrong.
and if it didn't go wrong, if they were completely healthy, if they're completely healthy and they're a 7-win team, Justin Fields may not be the guy.
Yep.
Right. I mean, that's what we're looking at there. Unless he's got 3,500 yards passing and there's something like 100 drop balls. Like that's the only other way you can explain it. I don't anticipate that happening. I really don't. I think Justin Fields is the guy. I've seen enough from him. I've seen the things that he can do. I think that the new receiving core is going to make this offensive line better. I think that the running backs that we've acquired and that we've put together alongside the running back and Khalil Herbert we already had, not to mention Justin Fields' legs, are going to make this offensive line look a lot better than what they performed.
And then next year you got 2 first-round picks and 2 second-round picks.
Yeah. And you might have another top 3 pick with Carolina's pick.
Yeah.
In which you might end up with what's his face out of Ohio State there. God. He's the son of a former player, wide receiver.
Oh, Harrison
Jr., Marvin Harrison Jr.
Yeah.
You might end up with him, and then add that to this already stellar wide receiving core.
Good.
I mean, look, the Arizona Cardinals dropped DeAndre Hopkins. They gave him they released him.
Yeah, that's an interesting one.
Should the Bears go after him?
Yeah, I think so. I think so. I mean, I know Detroit's going after him. That's the news out of Detroit.
That's a problem.
Pretty hard. That would be a problem if they get him. Yeah, then that team might be a problem, especially with that defense. Even with the suspensions that they have on their team, that team's a problem if he's on that team.
They need a wide receiver because they lost 6 of them to gambling suspensions. Did you know that? So this is what bothers me the most about this is that the NFL has allowed their players to gamble on sports. They just cannot gamble on the NFL, which is the only sport that allows this.
Gambling at all. Yeah.
Yeah. Gambling at all for any sport. It's the only sport that allows it. And these guys still couldn't help themselves but bet on NFL games. So they need a wide receiver. So I'm not a proponent of what did they do. I'm not a proponent. Like, I don't care what the Detroit Lions did. I don't care, what the Minnesota Vikings did. I cared about what we did because we can still be better than them. But if you want to make a splash, if you are Ryan Poles and you want to make a splash, you go steal him from Detroit. You outbid Detroit for him.
It gives you great depth. Then we're not worrying about Chase Claypool being the guy anymore. Once you get DeAndre Hopkins, I mean,
yeah. And Arizona's covering a lot of his contract. He's owed $18 million this year. I believe they're going to cover $17 million of it.
You got $32 million left in cap space.
Hey, we'll give you another 10 on top.
He did not list the Bears as one of the teams he'd like to go to. I think he wants to go to a more veteran team, but that's why
Detroit's not a veteran team, though.
No, they
Detroit's
aren't.
a younger team.
They are.
I think if he goes to a veteran team, and I mentioned to you yesterday, and you were in shock, but the Chiefs. Imagine Patrick Mahomes with DeAndre Hopkins.
God, yeah.
It's a veteran team.
The NFL will be the NBA.
It's a veteran team. Another team that is I don't even know if you can call them veteran, but I don't think you can call them young either because of all they've accomplished over the last 3 years. The Cincinnati Bengals.
Ooh.
Imagine him with Jamar Chase.
Yeah, now you're starting to make super teams.
Yeah, well, I mean,
that's
yeah.
a super
If you go,
team. That's Miami Heat. That's Golden State Warrior stuff.
yeah.
I mean, that's a super team if he goes to the Chiefs. I mean,
I know the Patriots wanted him. Bill Belichick loves DeAndre Hopkins. It's not a veteran team. They don't know who the quarterback's going to be. I don't know that they can go get DeAndre Hopkins. I really don't. I don't know if he'd want to go there. They don't know if Mac Jones is their guy. The Broncos?
The Browns.
Oh, that could be interesting. That could be an interesting one.
They played together before, Deshaun Watson and him?
Yeah, they played together in Houston.
Yeah.
Wow. A reuniting. That team, to me, I think that team's already a sneaky pick.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that team can go a lot of different ways. I'm not surprised if they're a double-digit winning or losing team at the end of the year. I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
It's a strange team, man.
It is, and they're the Browns.
They'll find a way to not be good. But that guy can play, man. Deshaun Watson can play, man.
He can. I would love to see the Bears go get him. I just don't think it'll happen. I don't think the Lions are getting him either, though. I think he's going to go to an AFC team. I think it's going to be one of the AFC teams that we mentioned. I really do. Browns, Chiefs, Bengals, somewhere in that area.
Yeah.
I think is where you'll see DeAndre Hopkins land. Have you watched any of the NHL playoffs?
Yes. Yeah, I have. It's been
Florida
exciting.
Panthers, an 8 seed. Like,
hockey in Florida?
I've watched it all playoffs long, and my team's not even playing.
You don't live in Florida, though.
Well, yeah, but I'm still watching Florida hockey.
I guess.
I mean, I did have a rooting interest in the Florida Panthers, with some money involved. But
oh boy,
I am. I don't know if there's any way you could not root for Florida to win the whole damn thing as an 8 seed. Like that, how cool would that be to watch an 8 seed just come out of nowhere and just
cool, but sometimes the seeds do well. The lower seeds do well in hockey because hockey's kind of a crapshoot sometimes. That puck can fucking bounce around, and you could be a bad or just an okay hockey team, like the Nashville Predators were when they went against a really good. I think the Hawks' best team was in 2010. Was it? Yeah. That was their first.
Yeah, the 2013 team was pretty damn good too. Didn't they start the season like 19-0 or something?
Yeah. But they had a pretty good team that year, and all the Predators did was just dump it in, kept dumping the puck in. They never played wide open hockey. They just closed up, kept the Hawks against the boards, and were competitive in that series. Probably the most competitive series of that championship run was against the Predators.
Yeah.
They beat a pretty good team at the end, but it wasn't even as close.
Well, see, the Panthers have taken a different approach. The Panthers are just smash-mouthing everybody, and they're writing the hot goalie in Bobrovsky. Like they've got a really hot goaltender right now, and they are taking it to you. They're scoring. If it gets to overtime, they are finding a way to put the puck in the back of the net. You got Matthew Tkachuk over there, who is just every time it's a close game, I'm putting my money on Matthew Tkachuk to score the game-winning goal because he just always seems to find the puck, seems to find the back of the net. I mean, they won that overtime game to go up 3-0, and he skates right over to the gate and tells the guy to open the gate, and he doesn't even celebrate with his team. He walks to the locker room. He doesn't even wait for his team to mob him. He has the guy open the gate, and he walks to the locker room, and they celebrate there because he's just like, he's just like, you know what? Forget it. It's too easy.
Yeah.
I don't I love hockey. I think hockey is the best playoffs in sports. We talked about this last week. And I think that they prove it year in and year out with stuff like this, with 8 seeds going to the Stanley Cup playoffs, or Stanley Cup finals, I should say, with teams that you don't see, with how the best team every single year finds a way to lose in the first or second round. Like, it's just, to me, there's just nothing else like it. It's not predictable like the NBA. You know, you're not seeing the 2 best teams play just about year in and year out when you like you do with Major League Baseball. I mean, you can always narrow it down at least to 4 teams heading into the baseball playoffs. All right, it's either going to be these guys or these guys in the NL or these guys and these guys in the AL. Like you can pretty much narrow it down, and you can't do that in hockey. Everybody has a chance when the Stanley Cup playoffs start. Everybody. Doesn't matter how your season went all year long, you've got a chance.
Yeah, I mean, and the Panthers are showing it for sure this season. But the only reason why is that's one of the reasons why I don't put hockey up there. Because it is kind of...
You don't like underdogs? You're like, fuck the little guy. I want to crush you.
I do. Everybody likes the underdog. I mean, I love Rocky.
What about Rudy?
I love Rudy. But when it's too much like that, it's like it goes into the chance area. Like, oh, you kind of lucked into some of those wins, and that means the best team isn't winning. And I do like to see the best team win at times, or at least be competitive and not be out in the first round.
As long as it's not your
junior there.
That's my son. Says Florida goaltender's just making it look like practice. He's making it look so easy, and he is. I mean, Bobrovsky has just been insane in these playoffs. Right now, he's the best goaltender in the world. He doesn't have to be the best goaltender in the world, ranked number one goaltender in the world. But right now, for the last month plus, he's been the best goaltender in the world. This was the last team in the playoffs. This was the last team to clinch a spot. They needed, and not only was it the last team, but had the Hawks won or lost one of their last 2 games instead of winning them both, the Florida Panthers wouldn't be in the playoffs. The Florida Panthers would have been out, and the Pittsburgh Penguins would have been in. That's how close it was. You were rooting for one of the worst teams in hockey. All they had to do was lose one of their last 2 games. Instead, they diminished their chances at getting the number 1 pick, even though they did end up getting it. They diminished their chances by winning games. You had fans over here screaming at them, why are you winning games at the end of the season? We need to get Connor Bedard. And you get into the playoffs because of that. You needed so much help, and you got it all. And now you're going to the Stanley Cup Finals. That's, to me, what makes this run so damn amazing.
Crazy.
Boston Celtics. Speaking of my son, Brandon Jr., we're down 3-0. And he tells me on a phone call, we're going to win 8 in a row. He's a big Boston fan. We're going to win 8 in a row. We're going to win the title. They haven't lost since.
I can't believe that last shot. I mean, I thought for sure.
0.2 seconds.
I thought for sure he didn't get that tip off.
I thought so too.
Ooh, man.
Can they beat Denver though?
No.
I don't think so either. I don't think it matters who wins between the Heat and Celtics.
No. Yeah. Denver's better.
And they're rested. They swept their series. You're about to go to game 7 of a series where you were down 3-0. Like, I don't think there's any way. I mean, unless Joker gets hurt. Like, I don't think there's any way. We were talking yesterday. I was talking with a buddy of mine, and he said, how do you stop Joker? And I said, I don't think you do stop Joker. I think what you need to do is stop everybody else. Let Joker get his, contain everybody else. Because he's not going to score 110 points. He's not going to beat you by himself. Let him get his, but stop everybody else. And I think that's the way you beat Denver. I just don't know if you can, though. They're a really good basketball team.
Yeah, they are. And, man, I just can't believe Miami Jimmy Buckets, man. Whew, I thought this could have been his year, but it's hard to go back into Boston now.
It's too bad the Bulls can't get a player like him.
Yeah, I know. Wouldn't they be better if they?
If they had a guy like Jimmy Butler, I mean, could you imagine the Bulls with a guy like that?
I can't believe there was a time where I thought they actually won that trade. No.
They get like a freaking Chick-fil-A gift card for him or something.
Lauri Markkanen,
who's no longer with the team.
Who's no longer with the team.
Yep.
I forgot who was the other player. Damn.
Also no longer with the team.
Also no longer with the team.
And Jimmy Butler is 1 game away from going to the NBA Finals.
Gar Paxson. Yeah. It's another good GM president combination. There's no sports team. I mean, and maybe we'll end up calling the Bears this, but there's no sports team that has a good GM president combo in this city. There's no team that is innovative. There's no team that is doing something that no other team is doing other than losing badly.
I think Hoyer. I do think that Hoyer with the club. I think he's trying. No, but he was left with, because look, one thing that Theo was great at was building up a World Series winner. One thing he was not good at was replenishing the farm system. He just wasn't. He never had been. And he's left with that. And he's trying to find ways to do it. Look, I still say that the reason why they ended up with Dansby Swanson, not one of the other shortstops, is because they were saving money for this offseason. For an offseason with Shohei Ohtani as the leading free agent. I really do. I think they're going to make, I don't think they're going to get him. I think he's going to be a Dodger because they spend the most money and they don't care about the luxury tax. I think either that or he's going to end up being a Padre.
Yeah, I think he stays on the West Coast. Why not? I mean, why wouldn't he? Those are two pretty good organizations that spend a lot of money. They're on the West Coast, closer to home.
I mean, the Padres' payroll has to be close to $1 billion. It's got to be close.
They're still playing Hosmer, and Hosmer's at home right now.
Yeah, you know what? They might bring him back. They might actually just pick him up and be like, "Hey, come back. I mean, we're paying you anyway. You might as well just sit on our bench while we pay you."
Yeah, that makes. I mean, that contract makes look okay.
Yeah, I mean, he did get it after they won a World Series, though. You know what I mean?
We didn't. No, they signed him before. Who got it?
No, Hosmer won the World Series in 2015. He got that contract in 2016.
Yeah, I thought you were talking about Hayward. That he got paid after he won the World Series with the Cubs.
No, but he was an MVP candidate in St. Louis the year before. In
which?
In the National League.
And who was voting for him? Did you have a vote
that year? He had Jason Hayward had a great year in St. Louis the year before the Cubs signed him.
I wouldn't say great. I'd have to look this up now.
I'm looking it up right now as we speak because he did have. That's why he got such a big contract was before he went to the Cubs.
He wasn't hitting home runs anymore. I mean, that was the problem. You don't pay a guy that much who's not hitting home runs anymore. I mean, he had 1 or 2 seasons with Atlanta where he could hit a home run.
So he went to St. Louis for that 1 year. He hit 297 that year.
He was 15th in the MVP voting. That you don't even bring that up if you're 15th.
He was still in the MVP voting.
15th in MVP voting.
How many MVP votes did you get that year?
You don't even bring that up.
How many MVP votes did you get that year?
A hell of a lot.
You can't diminish a guy who's that's 15th.
15th though.
15th out of how many players? Come on.
God, are you kidding me?
There aren't 15 guys on the White Sox you'd have taken over him that year.
That year, the White Sox 2015 year?
Yes.
I think it was 2014 that Jose Abreu won Rookie of the Year, I think. But still, I'd take Abreu over him. He at least hit home runs earlier in his career. He can't hit home runs anymore after I do a whole Fitz gibberish on how he's going to be good with Houston. Boy,
what's he batting, like 97?
Joe, what's going on? Yeah, he has tough Aprils. Traditionally, he's been terrible. He's
hitting 214.
He's minus 1.4 WAR.
Zero home runs this year.
Oh, he still has 0 through 50 games. 208 at-bats.
And by the way, 2015, Jose Abreu 21st in MVP voting.
I don't care.
6 players behind Jason Hayward.
He shouldn't be. Had 34 doubles and 30 home runs. I don't believe that.
Six players.
In 2020, where was Jose Abreu in the MVP voting?
In 2020?
Tell the people.
He was number 1. He won the MVP.
Number 1.
They played 7 games that year. And it was in a bubble in empty stadiums. He had no pressure.
20 no pressure. Home runs, no pressure.
Yeah.
20 home runs in 60 games.
20 home runs in 60 games. You know what? This year in 60 games, he has 20 less home runs. 20 less home runs than he had that year. Because he has 0. Jason Hayward?
Aren't you still counting, Chris Bryant's home runs so you can justify the fact that the Cubs had to tear down their team 2-3 years after they won the World Series? What? They should have traded everybody away. They got Alcantara now, who's batting 220 in the fucking single A.
You know who has more home runs than Jose Abreu this year?
Who?
Jason Hayward, because he has 5. He has 5 more home runs than Jose Abreu this year.
Well, he needs Jose Abreu needs to happen. What happened to that Hornell team? The other team. Celebrating around the bases.
A job third strike where the catcher has a stroke and he just keeps rounding the bases. While everybody else is trying to revive the catcher, Jose Abreu is getting his first home run of the season.
0 home runs. Whew.
And then he finds out that it didn't count because it was a strikeout.
That Astros team will not be winning the World Series this year.
I don't think so either.
No, unless Dusty puts the gloves back on. Gloves.
The black rubber gloves.
Yeah.
Oh God! Like he's going to a crime scene.
What the hell? That guy is a weird guy.
Like, do you think he was just like giving out colonoscopies in between innings? That's why he was wearing the rubber gloves.
This is the same guy who almost killed his kid. In the middle of the World Series, the kid is running the home plate.
He was like 2.5. The kid was a bat boy for the Giants. He was like 2.5. He was running out there, didn't even know what he was supposed to be doing, and almost got ran over
by JD Drew, who was not a small man.
No, who was the player that saved him?
It was JD Drew, I think.
Was it Drew?
Yeah.
Oh. Somebody saved him and picked him up, but damn,
died with one arm.
His kid had just barely learned how to walk.
After that, I don't know. And we lost Wi-Fi for a second. That's a good way to end the show.
That is a good way to end the show. You're still frozen on my screen.
Frozen. Now we can talk shit about him. Jason Hayward.
Am I back? What is going on? Am I gone? Is it me or is it you?